relationships, and realizations. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode. This week, I have a very good friend of mine. I have my good friend, Melissa, here with me today. We have known each other for quite a few years now, and we met each other through our culture, through our heritage. My lovely, wonderful Latina and I are dancers, and that's how we met. And I just want to thank you, Melissa, for being on the podcast today, and let the listeners know a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you, Raina, so much for considering me for this podcast interview. I really appreciate it. So funny because I'm like, why me? But then you start thinking and about your life, and you're like, oh, I guess I have a funny, interesting life. Maybe it's good to share it at some point. So, my name is Melissa, and I'm native San Diegan, like Raina as well. Definitely Latina, very proud. I'm happy to carry half Mexican culture and half Afro-Cuban culture. It has really shaped kind of, my background, but also, everything that I've done in my life and try to focus on in my career and personal life and hopefully my future. Work in special events. This is my second career currently, but I do corporate events. I work at Scripps Institution of Oceanography, which is a part of UC San Diego, and that also includes the Birch Aquarium, and I focus on fundraising type of events. So I work in the development office, and I do donor relations and programs, but my main focus is definitely special events. And then here and there, I also do some kind of private or, as we call them, social events. So like weddings, and I've done beer festivals in the past and some fun stuff like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So obviously with all of the COVID stuff that's going on right now, I'm sure there's still obviously not events happening. So what, I guess, are you doing in the meantime? Obviously you're still full-time at your job. I'm sure you're probably catching up with billing and all that other non-fun stuff. What are you doing?
All the behind the scenes that nobody sees, right?
Right. All the not fun stuff. So what are you doing for yourself? Since we're all kind of tucked away, we're in our houses or our apartments or whatever, how are you staying sane right now? Because obviously being an event coordinator, you're used to working with so many people and seeing people and talking to people, and you're out there and, rubbing elbows, and I don't know, maybe I'm glamorizing it. I don't know, but that's what I see. I'm like, oh, cool. She's out there rubbing elbows with rich people and all these wonderful things. And so what are you doing right now to, I guess, keep yourself sane and to stay, I don't want to say busy, that's not the right word, but just to kind of fill in those gaps otherwise?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny because it is actually busy. It's been very interesting, but because of the nature of my job, I'm kind of one of the few people on our team. We're a team of about 13. There's only 2 of us that really focus on special events. But with that, I do typically work remote, which is kind of nice because that means that even sometimes, going on vacations, I can, say, oh, today I'm working, and log on for a couple hours and call it a day. But, so it was really interesting because when it first happened and we kind of shut down, I would say mid-March, our offices shut down and we moved to remote, it was kind of busier, right? Because we're canceling everything. We typically have full calendar. We go by fiscal years, which start in July, and we have a calendar pretty much for a whole year out. So it was canceling, I don't even know how many events, and, spring and summer is our kind of busiest season. So that's when we host all of our huge events, right? So it was a lot of cancellations, but then also trying to figure out whether or not we want to cancel, we want to postpone. There was a lot of conversation going back and forth. So a lot of putting out fires. So that kept me busy for quite some time. The lucky part about me and my background is that because I come with a lot of donor relations background, I was able to kind of shift my position a bit and focus more on that and kind of help our one person that we have in the office who focuses on that. So, for example, taking an event for those of you that don't understand kind of, it's called development, but the development events, it's basically you're working to put on events about fundraising, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're fundraisers. Mm-hmm. They can also be what we call stewardship events, which is kind of trying to show the impact that a philanthropist is having. So, perfect example, I was supposed to host a fellowship brunch, which is our graduate students who have scholarships, and introduce them kind of to the people who help fund their education. So this is about 120 person event, and it's on a Sunday and it goes on for a couple hours. The students do presentations, they have panel discussions, all that good stuff. Well, that obviously gets canceled because it's like week 2 of quarantine. Mm-hmm. So then it's like, okay, well, what do we do? And it's kind of one of those things like, yeah, you're going to postpone it and you need to postpone it quickly, but you also want to have like some kind of positive, mm-hmm. positive communication. So anyway, so we decided to do an email series, which we've called our fellowship update.
Nice.
So once a week, and that turned into its own like side event, because mm-hmm. then I'm having to reach out to all these students. Have a student who's stuck in Brazil because she went to go visit her family. Now she can't come back.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been very interesting. So I have like students all over, and they basically recorded videos for me, like on their computers, on their cell phones, whatever. They send it to me. The beauty of technology, I swear. Mm-hmm. I've been uploading those, and we've turned them into emails. So we'll have, a couple students a week with videos that we send out to the donors, and it's kind of like keeping them engaged, right? Because our big thing is we want to keep our donors engaged with what they're supporting so that they will continue to want to, partner with us and support, especially our students mm-hmm. During this time. So been busy with work. I've still been doing tons of that. A lot of our events have turned into either virtual events or they've turned into like email updates. So I've been doing a lot of that. And then at the beginning, I feel like I was working a million hours more. Mm-hmm. So after, I want to say it was maybe week 2, I just told myself, like, okay, no, we need to come up with a plan for your own sanity.
Right.
I'm at home alone. I live alone. So it's kind of like there's no stop time, right? I don't have kids I need to take care of, somebody I need to cook for, anything. So
you weren't taking a breath for yourself at all.
What was that?
You weren't taking a breath for yourself. Right.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of like, go, go, go. I need to prove that my position is so important, because I feel like a lot of people, started getting nervous about their jobs too.
Yes, absolutely. I can understand and agree. That's what it seemed like at first. And I think a lot of us that, were lucky enough to work from home had to, like kind of what you were saying, is put on a different hat. And even though my position, I could do a lot of the same stuff, there were a lot of things we had different panels that we had coming up, or different meetings or different visits that we had coming from visiting professors that we had to cancel at the last minute. And so like you were saying, doing all those changes and, reaching out to people and doing things that you wouldn't normally do that now have become part of your job. So it's kind of like putting on a different hat. So I can understand like you're like, okay, I've got to switch gears. I've got to put this hat on, and not taking a second to kind of breathe and reflect, or to breathe and kind of like, okay, wait a minute, I need to do something for myself. Cause we can't go out and visit with our friends, or, it's like, I can't call you and say, hey, let's go out and grab a bite to eat. There are no natural stopping points, I guess, anymore, like we used to have.
I feel like that's the thing that, especially at the beginning, we were also go, 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 mm-hmm. that we weren't focusing like on our own mental health, our own physical health, right. Like, let's be real. If you work in an office and now your office is in your home, like how much exercise are you getting done, right?
Oh my gosh. My steps went from, like 1,000 down to like 200. It was horrendous. I had to fix that.
My God, absolutely. I swear. Let's not talk about this. For me, it was a realization, I want to say within like a week and a half or 2 weeks. And then also like physical health, right? So I started getting headaches because now you're connected. I mean, right. I have a dual monitor situation. Mm-hmm. So, I have 2 computer monitors that I'm staring at all day. I'm very blessed that my office, regular work office, is at, the Hoya Shores. So we're on the beach.
Oh, such a hard life. Hard life.
Very hard life, right? So, moving into my home office 24/7, you're kind of like, okay, I got to do something. So I started like just thinking of different things and incorporating different things, and I started meditating a lot, prayer, journaling, started like making times for me. Also, like, okay, I can start at this time. Like, this is the time that I'm eating, and I started changing in and out of different clothes.
Nice, yeah.
And then once the weather started getting a little better, because it was raining for like, I don't know how long, kind of going outside into the yard and just, trying to like keep busy. I started my garden for spring and summer, and yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can understand. I think the first week I did not change out of my sweats. Like, I was in sweats, and there was no reason, because my mentality was, I'm at home, nobody's going to see me, I don't care. But then it got to the point, I think I got to the same point that you did, where I was like, okay, no, I need to at least get up and put on some jeans and a shirt. Like, I need to change. I guess the process of changing clothes was kind of like helping to get me into that mentality, like change my mentality from being super relaxed into, no, you're in work mode, or at the end of the day, changing out of my clothes into my sweats, and like, okay, no, I need to turn it off now. Now it's rest time,
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, like, what works best for you to create, like, a real routine in this new environment, right? So you're not physically moving from space to space. So it's like, what can you do to mentally kind of shift that routine so that you do move from space to space, whether that's mentally or physically, you know?
Exactly. And it's unfortunate for a lot of people. I don't know how large your workspace is at home, but a lot of people are very limited to how much space they have. So it's kind of like, you see on Instagram or like all of these, high priced people that they have their special office and they can go into their special office at home and close the door and it's nice and neat. But the reality, like, a lot of us our quote unquote office is in our bedroom, or it's, on our dining room table. We don't have the luxury of having multi rooms where you can have an office, a legitimate office that's dedicated for just that. So you really have to mentally force yourself to, kind of flip the switch,
If anybody needs help on their tiny space, I'm the pro right now, because I live in San Diego, which is all those expensive. So I have a tiny little studio that I live off. So I'm the same way. Living room, office is all one room right now.
Exactly.
So, it's just, you definitely have to get creative. Yeah. And then, like I said, and you said, kind of having that shift of mentally shifting from space to space sometimes too.
Right.
So I don't take typically lunch at work. Like, I just eat at my desk.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Now I'm like, no. So I dedicated an hour a day. I even got to the point where I was like, well, I'm not going to shower until lunchtime, because that'll force me to get up and like go do something,
Right. That's smart. That's actually a really smart idea. I hadn't thought about that. That's a really good idea, because I was the same at work. I would just eat my lunch at my desk because it was easier. It was a lot easier to just, eat as I went and eat, as I was typing or whatever. And now it's a lot different. I don't have the, hour in the morning where I'm getting up, getting dressed, getting in the car, et cetera, and the hour on the backside. So it's like, okay, I have this extra time, I need to do something for myself to break away from, my desk, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for all the dancers and even non-dancers out there, we found that, like, so I do blocks. Our team decided to do this. We put blocks on our calendar of, let's say, 2 hours I'm going to work on this project, right?
Right.
And then for me personally, I decided that in between those blocks, I was going to get up, put on a song, and dance it out in this living room.
Oh, I like that idea.
I would put on, of course, my bachata usually.
Right.
I mean, I'll put other music on, but, and I would get up and put on one traditional bachata song because those are longer.
Mm-hmm.
From the living room to the kitchen for 4+ minutes. And then, I'm losing my breath because, of course, I'm super out of shape right now. And I was like, okay.
We're not going to talk about that. Yeah, we're not even.
Mentally, too, it just stimulates, just blood flowing.
Right. Exactly. And music just does that. Music, dance, it just does that. It just changes your brain. We're looking at numbers all day, or we're looking at spreadsheets all day. And then music just really enhances. It just changes. It's a different part of your brain that's working. And it's for a lot of us, it is a reminder of our childhood, or it's a reminder of happier times. And so, of course, you have all of those things, all of those parts of your brain that are engaging as well. So that's a really great idea. I need to incorporate that. I can't believe I haven't thought of that.
Yes. Dance it away, girl.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. So your job obviously sounds super glamorous, and I have always considered, and we've had many conversations about my love for you and your gypsy heart. That is something that, fortunately I guess it depends on how you look at it, but your family's here, yes, but you really have no ties. You've had the capability to really just go wherever you want to go. You don't have any other ties that would force you to stay. If you wanted to get up and be like, you know what, I feel like moving to Mexico City, you could do that. Or I feel like moving to Seattle, I could, you could do that. And I think that that's so awesome. And so let's talk a little bit about when you left San Diego for the first time, where did you go? Why did you leave? And what made you decide to leave?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, the juicy stuff.
Yes. Yes.
So this is where you get into all relationship info. But actually, funny enough, I was thinking about, this, as I was thinking about this podcast, I started thinking, actually, this is what sparked the beginning of this second career that I have now. And I say that because, I had a whole another career before in human resources and accounting and stuff before I program. So yeah, so many moons ago when I was 19, had the opportunity. Actually, there's a few things that happened, and I'll share really quickly before. So I was in a relationship with somebody who actually lived on the other side of the border. So, I would get to see him kind of on the weekends or whenever I can sneak out of my classes. I was going to Southwestern College in Chula Vista. So yeah, so that was, that relationship. Unfortunately, it was not a very healthy relationship.
Been there, done that.
19
right.
girls sticking it out, I was in love, right?
Of course.
But it was really interesting because, it was an off and on, again, relationship. And the last time that we kind of were basically trying to work it out and so forth, we had plans to actually go down there for the day. I was going to go to a morning class and then head down there. And so I wake up that morning and nothing going on, the news is on, obviously there's tension, my family downstairs is whatever, So I go downstairs and to find that it's, September 11th, 2001.
Oh, wow.
So, that's happening. So I'm literally watching it, trying to get ready for school and watching this all happening and both, also thinking oh my gosh, this is just insane, right? So, life before 9/11, I mean, anywhere, but, there's I feel certain cities that were definitely affected. Obviously, New York City was affected physically, emotionally, everything, because that's the center of it. But, even here in San Diego, because we are the largest, most trafficked border,
right.
And from being raised here, a lot of us, our families are divided. So, my blood family really at that time, we were the only ones. My mom and her children, which is, two of us, were the only ones that were on this side of the border. Our entire family was in Mexico. So it was it's just a different world compared to what it is now. I feel like it's gotten back to that a little bit. But,
Mm-hmm.
so that happened, So long story short, that relationship obviously fizzled out because it became very difficult to kind of go down there. The borders were getting shut down. It was just, a hot mess, like I like to say. So it was always so that happened. And then I want to say, I don't even know how long, but it was months, if not weeks after. I don't even know how it happened, but kind of the opportunity for me to go study abroad kind of fell in my lap.
Nice.
So kind of presented it to my mom and just kind of was like, hey, here's the situation, because, financially I grew up in a very humble home,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know if that was something, I went to college off financial aid and so forth. So I didn't know if that was something that we could do, but I definitely wanted to go. It was to Italy, which I had been studying Italian and so forth. So,
mm-hmm.
My mom was real quick to ship me off because, of course, she knew what was at home and wanted me to get away from that.
Right.
Or I should say on the other side of the border.
Yeah.
So I ended up going. That was my first time. I was 19. I got on, the bus, the plane, whatever, and I got to drink my first wine on the plane because that's where you cross international waters.
Yeah.
So that was really funny. And I ended up, landing in Italy. And then I did study abroad for a program, and I, landed in Florence eventually, which is where I went to school for a few months. And ended up actually meeting a whole bunch of awesome people, both on my program as well as outside my program. So Firenze, it's kind of besides the art center of Italy, it's also like the education center. So
mm-hmm.
a lot of American universities actually have satellite universities there. So you have like Florida State. There's like a whole bunch of universities,
Mm-hmm.
So I actually ended up meeting a lot of people, American people that were outside of my program, who eventually convinced me to stay.
Oh, nice.
So that was fun.
Right.
And, of course, in the meantime, I meet somebody,
mm-hmm.
and get into a pretty heavy, serious relationship. So then I have to call home, kind of, tell my mom, stick around here for a little longer,
Right.
Mind you, I'm a broke college student, and, I don't come from a wealthy family. So, so that happened. And I think after, 3 times of finally postponing it, I finally was like, I think I'm just going to stay here for, I don't know, 19, stupid, 20.
Right.
So, so then that happened. And my mom quickly decided that, well, if that was my decision, that was not something she supported. And, I would have to kind of figure out how to make a living.
Right.
So, that was my situation. I was 19, 20, stuck in Italy. Not stuck because,
mm-hmm.
Living the life, not knowing how I was going to pay rent. So I ended up moving in with some friends, and then through various friends, ended up actually meeting a really cool couple who got me involved in nightclub promotion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I actually started in the industry, is I became a nightclub promoter, trying to get American students, which there's tons of, to come to this amazing nightclub.
Right.
Party it up, and it paid, money, and I also got free drinks and food for all the time. So.
Right. And when you're young and broke, like, that's all that matters.
Exactly. Like, all right, give me food, give me alcohol, we're good.
Right. Exactly.
So, so that's kind of how my gypsy life started. Eventually that relationship kind of didn't work out, and I ended up finally, reconnecting with my family. I ended up moving to the States and trying to kind of figure out my life. But, that started my gypsy life. That also started like my passion for events, and then, there's been other, cities from there. I've been lucky enough to, I got accepted to the University of Hawaii a few years later. So I ended up going out there. And then again, I was a nightclub promoter there.
There's a trend.
Using it to my advantage.
Right.
And it was really funny because I actually started dancing my first time ever. Yes, I'm also Cuban, but I was raised Mexican fully. from third grade until high school.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just dropped it from there. And when I was in Italy, when I was like 19, 20, it's when I went to my first, maybe, yeah, my first, like full on like salsa club where I actually took a class and started learning how to really dance salsa. So,
Right.
yeah.
Wow.
Interesting time.
It's crazy how when you actually, because I mean we're living our lives, so we don't think about the things as we're going through our life, like they're just things that are happening, like we're just living our life, and it isn't until someone actually asks about things, or when you have to sit down and think about certain points of your life or aspects of your life, or what was the culmination, or what was what happened here, that you're really like, wow, I never thought about it that way, or I never realized that was, what made me do XYZ, or, etc. It's interesting when you actually take a step back and look at it through a different set of eyes, more mature eyes,
Yeah, I highly encourage people to like sit and really reflect, because I feel like this is the first time, when you reached out and you're interested in doing this with me, I was like, okay. At first I was, nervous and like, this is not interesting. Like, who's you're me?
You're so funny.
And then I started reflecting, and I even started writing things down, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, because it's true,
Yeah.
Here I am, like, almost 20 years later, and like you said, you're just living your life. Like, you don't realize, like, all these things, and I'm, reflecting and kind of being like, well, no wonder I'm so like in love and obsessed with Italy and Italian culture, because I feel like that was a very pivotal point in my life that
absolutely
introduced so much of what 20 years later is now my like life, you know?
Right. But yeah, those experiences, I think, like you said, those are very pivotal years for most people. I think leaving the house for the first time, and really between the ages of like 16 to 25, you're so not easily influenced, but there are so many things that are happening in your life that those are the things that you remember, and of course, when you're younger, that's your formative years and all these other things. But really 16 to 25, I think, is when the experiences that you have during those times are really the things that affect you as you get older, and they really have a lot to do with how you see things, and I don't know, just the experiences that you have during those times are really things, I think, that form just as much as when you're ages 2 to 5. Those are really important times, I guess.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, because I feel like those were the times that, the two pivotal points. So obviously I mentioned Italy and Hawaii both happened, and I feel like they were so different. You're right. They shaped a lot of my mentality now. I mean, I can tell you Hawaii shaped my passion for conservancy, and kind of loving Mother Earth and trying to live a more natural life, which is kind of what I live in now, right? I fundraise for an oceanography school, basically trying to save the world. To save easily.
Right.
And I don't think, I mean, I'm a believer in we all have a destiny, and we all, there's a creator and universe, and sometimes we take detours, but I feel like also sometimes even the things that we decide we're going to kind of steer ourselves in certain ways, even if they're, dark times, I feel like eventually they all circle back, and they, like I said, 20 years later, I'm realizing like, oh,
right.
Like things that happened, or situations that I was in, or, even being broke college student in both, places, and realizing like, oh, but that helped me now to be able to, like, whether it's get this job or have this passion, or,
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think that, I guess for the listeners that are listening, if you are, in your later years, like in your late 30s, early 40s, or even older, if you haven't had this aha moment yet, you're gonna have it soon because like
Mm-hmm.
it's
Oh yeah.
definitely something that happens to all of us where you're just kind of like, wow, okay, so I am here or I'm thinking this way because of XYZ. And if you're a younger listener and you are in those years right now, enjoy those years because number one, they happen so fast. Like everything seems to go by so fast. But those are really the best years. And not to say that right now is not awesome, but we've grown. You grow and you learn and you build off of the things that have happened to you from a younger age. So now it's, yes, I'm still having experiences. Yes, I'm still going on adventures, but all of these things are happening now because of things that happened, or paths that I started, in my early 20s.
Absolutely. And I also feel like for, the younger generation and listeners here, it's kind of like a lot of times, and this is very, this is normal. There's signs, right? There's signs, there's many things. And, to share a little bit about me, I am a very spiritual, I am religious as well. I'm a walking contradiction, as I call myself. So I do kind of practice, two faiths that contradict each other. But overall, a lot of times in those years, your mentality is just different, right?
Right.
So the signs are there half of the, no, I would say all the time. The signs are
Yes. We just don't pay attention.
yes. We don't pay attention, or sometimes we don't even know how, because it's an awakening. I feel like sometimes you have later on in life,
Mm-hmm.
come from a faith family, but I wasn't raised in, the church, so yeah, I feel like these moments came to me later on, and looking back and being like, oh, okay, that totally makes sense. Like,
Right.
there's a reason why I didn't walk down that alley, or there's a reason why I decided that this, like, I don't know, go here instead of here. And it didn't matter if I didn't have like money for food, or, we're living the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, we're living moments, and we don't sit back and reflect. And I feel like maybe that's something that I would encourage people to definitely do a lot more. I feel like as I started reflecting more and journaling, especially during this time, being, safely at home, I like to call it. Stay stuck at home, but you're safe at home. It's a perfect time to like kind of just stop and reflect and like think about these things and kind of evaluate who you are and where you want to go.
Right, exactly. And I think, just kind of piggybacking off of what you said, and it's the perfect time. We don't have the same distractions that we did before all of this, epidemic or pandemic started. All of those distractions are gone. We don't have, our dance classes to go to, or our, I don't know, whatever else people are doing, other things that people would normally be doing. You are with yourself. You and your brain are together, and you need to figure stuff out. Like this is really the time that the spotlight is on every aspect of your life. And if there's something about your life that you don't like or that you want to fix, now's the time to do it. Like start making that plan. There's no other time like the present.
And also learning to be in your own silence and your own company.
Right.
A lot of times, we've talked about this right now. Like, we're so distracted, and we're so, whether we know it or not, we're so busy with going, wow, and being on social media and so forth. Like, we don't sit alone with ourselves, like in silence. And whatever that means to you, whether that's prayer, that's meditation, you literally just sitting there, laying on your floor, listening to music, but try to minimize like the TV distraction, maybe reading a book, even though that's distracting, but it's just, it's good for you to learn to be with yourself. And I know for me, especially during this time, it's something, I mean, I enjoy my own company. I'm, an extroverted introvert. So I go out when I need, even though people always think I'm more extrovert, which I know I come off that way. If you're close with me, you'll know I need like a month sometimes, or a couple weeks where I need to like disappear, because I'm like,
right. I'm the same way.
Yeah. To kind of be in our own company. lots of times where you do have these aha moments and you realize, like, I'm lying to myself. Whether that's in, your professional world or your personal world, in a relationship, whether it's romantic or friendship,
Mm-hmm.
perfect times. I feel like when you meditate, when you reflect, when you journal, when you pray, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes just go sit somewhere alone and quiet, These things, you'll be surprised. Like, when you take all the rest of the noise away, like, your own mind is so intriguing.
Right.
And it'll never lead you. I understand mental health, and people who have illnesses and so forth, but the majority of the time, to the path that, you need to be led to.
Right. Well, that was a really awesome episode, and I thank you so much, Melissa, for joining me and for bringing your wonderfulness to this episode of the podcast. And I really hope that the listeners have enjoyed following along with us on our, glamorization of being an event planner.
It's not as glamorous as you think. It's actually said to be one of the most stressful jobs out there. I mean,
I believe it. I'm sure. I have a very small taste of it, just being a program coordinator with like a couple of events a year. I can't even imagine doing that full time. Like, oh my gosh. But I appreciate you so much and sharing your knowledge and sharing your wisdom and giving us a little snippet of how your gypsy life started. And I really hope that to have you on for other episodes and maybe dive a little bit deeper into some of your gypsy relationships. Yes, girl. Yes. But thank you so much. And I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Reyna. And congratulations. You are doing amazing work and sharing so much, of people's paths out there and, for people to identify with. So I really appreciate everything you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, everyone. Hopefully you were able to get a little information. Hopefully it's useful. And if anything else, hopefully it was entertaining for you. And you can find all of this information. You can find all of our old episodes from our website, rrwithrr.com. Again, that's rrwithrr.com. You can find all of our social media links there, our Instagram, our YouTube, all that good stuff. And until next week, guys, have a good one.